Good evening and welcome to Pakistan Today News from our London studio. I'm Victoria Lane. U.S. President Donald Trump has said the war with Iran will come to an end very soon, insisting that the United States is heading towards what he described as victory. Speaking at an event in Las Vegas, President Trump stated that while he does not want war, he was compelled to act in order to halt Tehran's nuclear program. He maintained that Iran must not be allowed to acquire nuclear weapons and claimed that U.S. forces have already neutralized Iran's naval capabilities. The U.S. president further argued that America possesses the world's most advanced military, which continues to be strengthened through modern technology and innovation. While acknowledging Iran as a tough and intelligent nation with capable fighters, he suggested the conflict could conclude within 2 months. He also highlighted what he described as major economic gains from his policies, including a reported $2 trillion investment commitment from Saudi Arabia. Turning now to Iran's response, Tehran's ambassador to the United Nations, Reza Amiri Moghadam, has reiterated that Iran has no intention of developing nuclear weapons and is prepared to formalize that position through a verifiable agreement. The ambassador said Iran remains open to meaningful negotiations, but will not accept additional demands or external preconditions. He argued that previous diplomatic efforts collapsed after the U.S. delegation left talks unfinished, describing it as a recurring pattern that has undermined trust. He added that Iran could return to the negotiating table if sanctions are lifted, frozen assets are released, and its rights are fully respected. The envoy also suggested that diplomatic engagement involving Pakistan's Chief of Army Staff, Field Marshal Asim Munir, could help advance discussions, with new rounds of talks expected to be scheduled soon. In the Middle East, diplomatic reactions continue following the recent ceasefire in Lebanon. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has welcomed the development, reaffirming Islamabad's support for Lebanon's sovereignty and long-term regional peace. He praised international diplomatic efforts, including those attributed to U.S. President Donald Trump, saying they may help lay the groundwork for lasting stability. French President Emmanuel Macron also expressed full support for the ceasefire, aimed at ending weeks of fighting between Israel and Hezbollah, but cautioned that any continued military activity could weaken the agreement. He urged all parties to respect international law, protect civilians, and ensure that sovereignty is not violated. And joining us now from Islamabad is our correspondent Sarah William, with more on Pakistan's reaction and diplomatic positioning.
Thank you, Victoria. The Pakistani government has responded positively to the Lebanon ceasefire, viewing it as a rare opportunity to reduce tensions in an already volatile region. Officials in Islamabad have reiterated that Pakistan supports all efforts aimed at peaceful resolution of conflicts through dialogue and diplomacy. The Prime Minister's remarks reflect Pakistan's broader foreign policy approach of encouraging restraint and respect for sovereignty. Diplomatic sources say Pakistan continues to engage with key international partners as regional developments unfold. There is cautious optimism here, but officials also stress that sustained commitment from all sides will be essential for lasting peace.
Thank you, Sarah, for that update. In Vatican City, Catholic Church leader Pope Leo has renewed his appeal for global peace, warning against what he described as a growing culture of war and destruction. Without directly naming U.S. President Donald Trump, the Pope criticized so-called war merchants, saying destruction can occur in moments, while rebuilding societies takes generations. He expressed concern that global resources are increasingly being diverted away from health, education, and social welfare towards military conflict. The Pope also warned against the misuse of religion for political or military purposes, calling it a dangerous and rising trend. He added that despite widespread destruction caused by a few, the world continues to be sustained by millions of compassionate individuals working for peace. Meanwhile, in Europe, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron are preparing to host a virtual summit with global leaders focused on reopening the Strait of Hormuz and securing critical maritime shipping routes. According to reports, around 40 countries are expected to take part in discussions aimed at supporting the fragile ceasefire involving Iran and ensuring safe passage for international trade. The UK Prime Minister's office has indicated that the meeting will explore the possibility of an international defensive mission once conditions allow. Participants will also consider cooperation with the International Maritime Organization to improve maritime safety for vessels and crews. In energy markets, oil prices have fallen in early trading as optimism grows over potential de-escalation in the Middle East. Brent crude and U.S. West Texas Intermediate both recorded declines, giving up some of the previous session's gains. The easing comes after a 10-day ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon took effect, alongside suggestions from U.S. President Donald Trump that Washington and Tehran could hold talks this weekend. Analysts estimate that approximately 13 million barrels per day of oil supply have been disrupted amid tensions around the Strait of Hormuz. In related developments, a Pakistan-flagged tanker has become the first vessel to exit the strait carrying crude oil since the recent U.S. blockade began, according to Bloomberg. And finally, Pakistan's Finance Minister Mohammad Aurangzeb has said that Saudi Arabia's financial support remains crucial and will further strengthen Pakistan's external economic position. Speaking on the sidelines of the IMF World Bank spring meetings, he said Pakistan has successfully repaid its Eurobond obligations and continues to meet all debt repayments on time. The minister also held discussions with Moody's representatives regarding Pakistan's economic outlook and future strategy for returning to global financial markets. He outlined a medium-term plan aimed at regaining market access, while also highlighting reforms in the energy sector amid ongoing regional uncertainty. That's all for now. You're watching Pakistan Today News. I'm Victoria Lane.